We're live here. So thank you for joining me for my weekly live chat. My name is Aaron Apter. I'm a professional musician. I'm a drummer here in Nashville, Tennessee. And I use my channel to really just talk about the musical experience, talk about what it's like starting your career over again, talk about moving to a new city. And really my goal is to give everyone as real a look as possible into what it's like to be a musician. And cover the ugly parts, the highs and the lows. I find that a lot of people on social media, they like to portray themselves in like this very, naturally you want to portray yourself in this very positive light. You want to portray the best version of yourself. And sometimes I think that we might have good intentions, but when we're trying to portray this best version of ourselves, it ends up kind of being harmful to us or kind of weighing us down or being a burden. And so that's what I want to discuss today. And usually before I do these live chats, I'll write something out. I'll have kind of, not necessarily a monologue, but just some general thoughts that I want to share, and I'll have things organized. And with this one, I'm kind of really just shooting from the hip. And I want to talk about the depression and the burnout that I've been dealing with lately, that I've been really struggling with. And I want to talk about the discussions I've had with other musicians, because it's so common. And I've found that a lot of people, musicians and non-musicians, are kind of having some kind of depression issues. They're having some, I wouldn't say an identity crisis, but they're not sure of who their real self is, or they feel a need to portray a certain version of themselves online. And, or maybe not even that. Maybe it's just, life is just draining them right now. And I've kind of been dealing with that lately. So most of you probably know me either from like my long form videos where I talk about touring and I talk about, the quirks of being a musician, or you follow my live streams where if I can, I'll live stream a gig. And I'm pretty much playing here every day in Nashville. Maybe take one day off a week, but I play every day, and I can't always really stream those gigs every day because it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of effort, and quite frankly, it's draining. Both draining to me mentally, and also it takes a lot of money, and it's it's just part of the job, and it's kind of something unique that I do. And I found a community, and I'm really thankful for the community that I have and the people that are following. I've had some great moderators hop on, such as Joel. Joel and Brad have been great helping out with moderation while I'm playing, and that takes a little bit of the load off of me. So Brad and Joel, thank you so much. But even right now, as I'm speaking, I feel this pressure to be, I wouldn't say necessarily a certain way, but I'm watching the numbers. I'm watching how many people are viewing. What's my engagement like? And I'm not going to lie that a lot of times how I feel is like kind of based on it. If I'm like having a bunch of people view at once, I'm like, oh, I'm doing great. But if I have not too many people viewing on a gig, I'm like, oh man, maybe like my mix is bad, maybe the music isn't good, maybe people are tired of me. And I usually have some version of these thoughts going through my head like 24/7. And it's exhausting. And I'm not complaining at all. I'm simply relating parts of what my experience is like and talking about it in a real way. And I find that not everybody can be so unapologetically themselves. And I'm almost apologizing for being myself right now by saying, oh, I'm watching the likes and the engagement, and I'm still very unsure of myself. And I am. And I simply want to say that to other people, if nothing else, to let people have permission to be scared, to be depressed, to be, what am I doing in life? because I've talked with a lot of musicians, and what I've noticed recently, like on every gig I'm talking to, if sometimes someone like gives me like a crack of realness, like they like say something that might be a little bit personal, or I might see that they're struggling with something, and I don't pry too hard, but I find that when I start having a conversation, or I simply say, hey, I'm struggling with depression. I've been struggling with it for the past year. It's like clinical, not just being sad, but just clinical depression. And I don't ask about theirs. I don't give them advice, but I'm really just sharing who I am. Sometimes just doing that gives people enough courage or permission to be themselves. Or if not that, it makes them feel not quite as alone in their own struggles. And, so the first, and also I don't think I have Joel or Brad on here. And I really don't, I don't really try to like block people on this channel. I don't try to mute people, but I'm trying to have a constructive conversation. Ooh, I think my mic is down my shirt. There it is. Sorry if you couldn't hear me. So yeah, I really want to like have a constructive conversation with people. And if people want to ask questions, by all means, feel free to do it. And so and again, I'm hesitant to say these things because part of me feels like it is, perhaps would be perceived as a cry for attention or a cry for being dramatic. And I really don't want to do that. That's like the worst thing to me. I don't want to be perceived as being extra. I don't want to be perceived as being inauthentic or just clamoring for attention. But like, for example, I just want to like come out and say like what's been going on. And there hasn't been anything necessarily acute. There hasn't been like one defining incident, but I've been really struggling this year with depression, especially for like, I would say like the past month or so. Whereas I was having a hard time just even getting out the door, going to a gig. I would have like panic attacks before I would go to a gig, or just like, I can't do this anymore because I'm freaking exhausted mentally, emotionally, also physically. But I'm behind the 8 ball financially, and I'm like, okay, I have to keep working. And there's really no reprieve for me, and then I just have to find a way to get through these gigs. And sometimes when that's going on, I want to do things to check out. I'm not a drinker, but I want to, like, for example, this week I've wanted to start drinking in the middle of the day. And I've never had that urge before, never. And it's simply just because I need something to quiet the noise in my head, something to distract me from the discomforts. And that's an unhealthy coping mechanism. And I think a lot of musicians kind of use that. A lot of people use that. And I've used that in other methods before. I mean, I use that with social media when I'm just scrolling endlessly instead of thinking about really what's going on in my life and what's making me unhappy, and what's bringing me down. And, this week felt like there was something seriously, seriously wrong. Like, okay, I don't know what it is, but I think I need to get some help. But I wasn't sure what exactly was going on. And so I told a few trusted friends. I said, hey, I'm not feeling myself this week. I don't know what's going on. I know that I'm not feeling too well. I don't have any thoughts of harming myself, harming other people. But I know there's something not right at the moment. And I only told a few people that I really trusted about that, not because of attention, again, because I'm deathly afraid of people like seeing me in that vulnerable state. but because I was, okay, I need to take care of myself. And there's people that I trust. And if I tell them, if I express some vulnerability, say, hey, I need some help, I'm not sure what it is, but I just wanted you to know, and I trust you. That's a big step for me. And in the past, I used to feel shame about doing something like that, or I felt like I was being dramatic. But really, it's about taking care of myself. And I guess I've really done a deep dive into myself this year. And one thing I've always joked about with other people is that, like, I hate myself. I'm like, like Larry David, like, a self-loathing Jew. And I would joke about it and make light of it. But I knew that I hated myself in the sense that I was always talking to myself in a very negative way. And I've done that my entire life. I've always felt like I was not good enough. I felt insecure, and that insecurity, that lack of worthiness really has driven my decisions in life. It drove me to like do things like become an Ironman and do multiple Ironmans, because I'm like, I can't just do something like a marathon. I have to go crazy and do something that no one else does so I can prove that I'm worthy to other people. But I think I was also like really trying to prove that I was worthy to myself. And no matter how much I accomplished, like athletically, academically, musically, I would feel that there was still, like, that insecurity was still there. There was nothing that was good enough. And, me not being comfortable with myself, me really being insecure, and me hating myself has driven me to a lot of destructive behavior. And that's also driven me away from a lot of people. And I'm simply sharing this to let other people know that, yeah, life can get messy and we're all complicated a little bit. But going to counseling for the past couple of years, I've really had to start unpacking that and figuring out, okay, me being so hard on myself, I thought I was doing that to push me forward, to push me towards a new goal, to push me towards, I wanted to be the best of the best. Because I wanted to prove to maybe to other people, or maybe prove to myself, that I was worthy, that I belonged. And I found that the insecurity, the self-hate has been really, really toxic to me. And it hasn't pushed me to do things better. It's pushed me to be a little bit more destructive. It's pushed me to do things like isolate myself. And I isolate myself because I don't want to the people I love and know, because I don't want them to see me in this state. But I'm like, I'm charismatic enough and affable enough that I can meet strangers and like pretend to be like this confident, secure, smart person, where deep down inside, I don't believe that for myself. And then after a while, if somebody knows me and they really start seeing what's going on, I hide, not because I'm mad at them, just because, they're going to see the real me. And I have this deep-seated fear that the real me is not good enough. That it's not good enough as a musician, not good enough as an athlete, not good enough as a YouTuber, not good enough as a son, not good enough as a partner or a husband. So, the self-hatred really, I hear a lot of musicians talk about putting up walls and isolating themselves. And that's been my MO for a lot of my life. Because not a lot of people know the real me. And a lot of times I'll put on a front, like I'm really weird or outgoing or whatever, but I'm like playing a role and I'm not playing the real me. And that can work for a while, but it gets freaking exhausting and it gets draining. And I don't think I'm the only one. I know I'm not the only one. I know maybe other musicians don't use these parameters around it or don't define it, or maybe people in my generation, specifically men, because talking about your feelings, talking about insecurity has been kind of seen as a vulnerability, has been kind of seen as, you're being dramatic and not masculine and not respectable. And, I think it's the opposite, but I'm really having to work to come around on that. And I know a lot of people are still stuck in that old way. And why I really like to talk about this, why I don't like to talk about it, I am crawling out of my skin right now. I am feeling so nervous saying these things, but I feel a need to talk about it so I can normalize things. And also so I don't have to hide, so I don't have to spend energy putting on a front. And so it's also, I think, like burnout. I talk about burnout being a very real thing, and sometimes burnout can lead to depression as well. And so I've been really working so hard professionally. I've been trying to do multiple things at once. Like, I'm trying to create content because I really feel passionate about that. I'm writing songs. I'm working on a solo album right now. I'm doing other instrumental work. And I'm also just playing every day. And I'm doing a lot of things like taking steps to get my life organized that I've never done before. Like I never learned financial literacy. I never learned emotional hygiene. There's a lot of responsibility that I never picked up. And I felt like I was so far behind that I was like, it'll just work itself out later. And it hasn't. So this week I was really just doing things to like pick myself up and put it together. So I've been working with MusiCares. MusiCares is part of the Grammy Foundation. And they're a great charitable organization, and they help out musicians. They helped me out before when I had that devastating, when I was run over by a car. This was nearly a decade ago, and they helped me out with some of my, I simply couldn't work and I couldn't afford to live, and they helped cover my bills for a short period then. And right now, I reached out to MusiCares, and they're helping me. They got me a financial coach to kind of help guide me, help me make better decisions. And it's like also like my teeth are in constant pain because I haven't been able to afford to go to a dentist because my health insurance won't cover that, which is another story for another day, but MusiCares is going to get me on with that as well. And again, I feel it's hard reaching out asking for help. It's hard asking for charity. I feel like sometimes like I am like pulling one over on people, and I don't want to be like a schemer or a conniver. But like, I think someone at MusiCares was saying like, I'm looking at your schedule and you work all the time. You're playing all the time. You're not asking for a handout. It's just simply, okay, certain things aren't lining up in the musical world right now in terms of finances. But they are helping me out. And again, MusiCares says the best thing you can do for us to give back is to tell other musicians about it. So if you are a musician, I would, and you're struggling with something financially, something medically, emotionally, something with substance abuse, addiction, please check out MusiCares. It's a great organization. This is just me kind of spreading the word for them. And so I just glanced down, and Maggie says, so do you want to leave Nashville? No, I don't want to leave Nashville. I thought of leaving Nashville because not anything to do with like musical reasons or professional reasons, just to start over personally. But a couple things is Nashville is a great city to play in musically. I built so many connections here. I feel like I'm just getting momentum here. I love what I do here, and it's the only city in the world that could really that's supporting me musically. I love it. But also, like, there's a saying that if you move locations, to kind of escape some problems, it's better for a moment, but eventually you have to unpack your baggage. And yeah, I'll have to unpack my baggage wherever it is. Um, but yeah, this week has been super, super tough. There was one day where I maybe like walked outside for an hour and that was it. I just couldn't be around people. I couldn't talk to people. I didn't want to do anything and I just wanted to isolate. And sometimes I need that to recharge, but also I note that when that is happening, that's kind of like a warning sign that, okay, things are going a little bit sideways internally with my mental health. I need to be really cognizant of that. And yeah, there's been a lot of days where I don't want to engage or interact. And I think part of that's burnout, part of that is depression, and those things kind of go hand in hand with each other. And again, I'm not the only one. And I was like even feeling pressure like from my cat social media accounts. The cat has nearly 20,000 followers. He's a great, cute little kitten. And I was like, man, I haven't posted like 4 or 5 days. And then like people start emailing and contacting me, and I don't know who these people are. And I feel like I'm letting people down, or I feel like I'm losing momentum, or I just feel like I'm always like on this grind. And again, I'm not the only one. I feel like, oh man, I need to do another long form YouTube video. I haven't had something come up and I need to do that to like really build my audience. I need to stream this. I need to promote the stream this way. And there's only so much you can do in a day. And there's only so much you can do in your career. And I found that me saying yes to everything, which is what I really preached and promoted coming to Nashville first, because I said yes to every gig because I needed the money, I needed the experience, I needed to build the networking. And I still need to do that. But it's almost like working out. If you work out 24 hours a day, you're never going to get stronger because you never have time to recover. And so I've never really had time to recover, like mentally. I've never had time to like chill out. And again, it's part of the thing about self-hatred, because I felt like I didn't deserve time to chill out. I felt like I need to keep on doing. I felt like I need to be competitive to really keep up with everybody else. And when there's no downtime, that's when I don't have time to really assess what's going on. I don't have time to recuperate. And again, I think your brain, your emotions are very much like a muscle. If they're always on, if they're always going, you're just going to get yourself into a hole. So I'm trying right now to figure out how to take downtime, but how to stay afloat financially. And those two don't always align. And that's, these things aren't simple solutions. It's not simply like take this pill, see this doctor, do this method. It's very much like learning an instrument. It's small, consistent deposits over time that will yield results. And a lot of times you don't see those results that first day, that first week, that first month, but you have to stay on it. And again, that's why I reached out to MusiCares, because I was like, I need help navigating this, and I'm not sure what to do. I feel overwhelmed. And yeah. And I also want to say this isn't about me. I'm sharing my experience, and I don't want to give other people advice, but I want to share this to give other people maybe the courage to do something, maybe the courage to say something about it, or maybe to just not feel quite so alone. And that's why I also create music, because sometimes it makes people feel not so alone. That's why I take posting pictures of my cat seriously on Instagram, because he has so many followers and he brings people joy. And I don't feel quite so alone. So yeah, and in my travels, especially, or my workings with musicians, I've noticed a lot of musicians are carrying some of that weight too. And usually when I play with new musicians, a lot like we'll put on like, hey, how's it go? I sounded great, brother. Put on this networking kind of talk, this lingo. And it's sometimes people are putting on a facade, and then sometimes a lot of people are like silently suffering. And this is a relationship business, and I found that really investing into relationships with people, you don't need to be their best friend, you don't need to be their therapist, but treating people with some grace and talking to people like they were human, I think that is super important. And a lot of times we feel like we need to be this avatar of ourselves. We need to like present ourselves as like the most successful, the most well put together. And I think that creates even more distance between us and our colleagues, our friends, our family. And sometimes learning how to accept yourself is a hard thing. And sometimes if I can do something to accept someone else or make an effort to do that, maybe they'll accept themselves a little bit more. Yeah. And I'm just reading this message. Thank you, Haley, for saying that. Yeah, and I also, one of the things like, and that's also one of the reasons why I do the live chats is because I feel so honored that people watch videos or they watch my live streams. And, obviously I can't respond to every comment. I can't engage when I'm playing. And a lot of times I'll actually I'll have my camera facing away from me, so I can't see the screen because I don't want to see the comments or I don't want that to get in my head. But I am really appreciative of the people who follow. I'm really appreciative of people who support this channel just by viewing, just by commenting, just by sharing. And yeah, I want to let people know. And there's also people that have donated to the channel, which I greatly appreciate. And my whole goal is, okay, I'm going to try to make this channel a little bit better so I can inspire a little bit more people, but also give a little bit more people an insight of what's going on. And and we also have a guy saying, someone saying, I would think depending on playing music to make a living is way too hard. I'm a musician but worked a normal job for 40 years. And now I have a pension and great medical insurance, way easier. And for you, that may be easier. And that's great for you. I'm so happy for it. Seriously. I found that everybody has their own path to happiness and success. And right now, I'm in a place where I've done normal jobs, I've made more money, and that did not make me happier. And now I am more fulfilled, but that doesn't mean depression goes away, and that doesn't mean fatigue goes away. But I really believe in what I'm doing, and I'm fulfilled by what I'm doing, and I'm proud of what I'm doing. And I feel like this is what I was intended to be doing, or this is what I want to do. Doesn't mean it's easy. And again, this is why I like putting it all out there. Because a lot of times people say if you work a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I disagree with that because I love what I do, and sometimes it's work. Sometimes it's a lot of effort, hauling all that extra gear to a gig to set up cameras. Sometimes it's work, just not having normal hours or normal social lives, or trying to make some sacrifices. But I love what I do. Doesn't mean it's easy. Yeah. So yeah, but again, this is just me. I've known amazing musicians who they got tired of playing music for a living, and they worked a normal job, and they just played when they wanted. They were more fulfilled by that. And I think that's okay too. And I feel like I should wrap up, or I should have some big conclusion right now. But I think that's the whole point, is that sometimes there is no answer, there is no conclusion. I don't have to make some big overarching points. Sometimes just being yourself is enough. And I'm trying to do that to give other people permission to, because again, like, I have not enjoyed myself, and I've tried to be a different version of myself for way too long. And I'm learning how to accept myself, which takes a lot of work. And if I can kind of document that process and share that with other people, maybe it'll give some other people inspiration. But this is just part of the journey. So, yeah, I think that's it for today. If you follow the live streams, thank you. I'm not sure if I'll try to do one on Friday this week, but I think I may need to, just for my, for the energy, but also for my, again, since I'm using mobile data to stream, it costs me a lot of money to stream every gig, so I'm trying to just like stream on the weekends. Until I get, maybe I'm thinking about trying to get a sponsor who will cover the streaming costs. I'm thinking about putting up a paywall maybe, but I want have everybody watch this. I want it to be for free for everybody. If you can't afford it, I want you to be able to watch and listen to music and have joy. So I'm thinking about maybe trying to find a sponsor, maybe finding a way that can cover the costs of streaming. And again, maybe that's later on down the road. I don't know. But really, you're seeing me. I always feel like I'm putting together the airplane as I'm going down the runway, getting ready to take off. Yeah. So that's about it. I think I'm going to do a stream on Friday. I might try to do some videos this week. But yeah, it also might be time to take a break. I'm not sure. And I always say that, but usually by the time Friday comes around, I'll be like, okay. Or maybe Thursday. But I'm going to take some downtime, some chill time right now. And I would suggest you do the same. It's good. And if you're a musician struggling with mental health, I don't have the answers for you. And that's not me like pushing away. I'm saying sometimes you just don't have the answer. Sometimes just knowing somebody else cares, somebody else understands, somebody else is right there with you makes it a little bit better. But so I like to conclude with saying be kind to other people. But I've been saying lately, be kind to yourself, and this is why, because I've been learning to do that and kind of rebuilding my sense of self, and I encourage other people to explore that because it's worthy.